Hello everyone. Welcome to Ortelius Microservices Visionaries 2022. So the topic of this session is why do you need a microservice catalog to enhance developer productivity? So Ortelius open source, as all of you know, is a project under the governance of the Continuous Delivery Foundation, and Ortelius itself is a microservice catalog that helps you govern your microservices across the enterprise. So a brief about me. Currently I am an Assistant Director Cloud Practice at Ernst & Young. Before that I used to lead the Cloud Center of Excellence team at Accenture. So what is the agenda for today? So this is a 10-minute lightning talk where I will discuss the challenges with current microservice adoption across enterprises at scale. What is a microservice catalog? How it can act as a solution? Some introduction, some advantages, some disadvantages. How functionally a microservice catalog operates. Some open source and enterprise grade options, and finally conclude the session. So microservices have actually taken over the world by storm. As part of a recent report by Microservice Adoption or by Ortelius, 77% of respondents have adopted microservices, which is huge. And actually it is agreed by the industry thought leaders that enterprises that are not able to effectively support microservices will be able to less compete in the business in the future, whereas enterprises who have adopted microservices, they are more likely to perform well against others on metrics like development efficiency, the ability to use new platforms, collaboration across teams, and sharing of services across applications. So microservices is in the market and it is the next big thing. But at the same time, the number of microservices can be insane over a period of time in an enterprise. So here if you see Uber in 2018 and Netflix, you can see this is the microservice graph, how many services and how complex their interdependencies are. So managing something like this at an enterprise level, at an enterprise scale is very difficult. So what are the difficulties? So as long as you have 5, 10, 20, 30 microservices, it is still okay. You can maintain them. But the moment you have more than 30 microservices, it becomes unmanageable. There cracks start appearing in the system. Why? Because there is no clear ownership. Nobody knows who to contact if that service breaks. There is no easy way to reach the consumer of a service or to reach the owner of a service to understand who is responsible for this service. There is no easy way to access documentation, to get analytical information about the microservices and all of that and how to consume it. So basically at scale, when you have a large number of microservices, it becomes very difficult to manage it. What are some of the difficulties? It is impossible for a single person or a team to be aware of all the microservices across the enterprise. Okay, nobody can pinpoint when a service goes down that who is the owner of the service, who should I reach out to get clarity on that service, which leads to delays. There's a lack of visibility across an enterprise into what is the kind of microservice adoption state in that enterprise, which programming languages are being used, which microservice frameworks are being used. And there is a high degree of duplication. Maybe you and I, both part of the same enterprise, are developing the same microservice, same service. We are not even aware of that. So there is a lot of duplication and a lot of cost to the company because potential reusable opportunities are being missed. So overall, when from a developer perspective also, when a developer wants to develop a service, he doesn't know if there is anything that he can use as a building block to his own service because there is no easy way to get a view of all the services in the enterprise. So basically, whereas we wanted microservices to be a catalyst in our digital transformation journey, it is actually becoming kind of hampering our journey in a sense. So it is not only adding technical complexity, which obviously microservices does at some level, but they're also introducing organizational complexity and they're posing a very serious threat on how to scale the enterprise. So what is the solution? We understand that these are the challenges, right? Which makes sense whenever you are managing something across 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 500, 5,000, 50,000 services, you need somewhere where you can get a unified view of the services. And that is where a microservice catalog comes into play. It is basically service discovery, but for humans. It is a record or a list of all the microservices that an enterprise has running in production, what each service does. It also contains metadata about the service, like owner of the service, service now queue of the service, where I can find observability or Prometheus charts for that service. How do I operate the service? How do I consume the service? using a catalog, it is very easy for a developer who is getting onboarded to see, okay, these are the number of services that I have. This is my service. This is how my service is dependent on all of these services. So I should be aware when these services go down. I should design my monitoring accordingly. I should design my observability accordingly. And it gives the enterprise leadership, the executive board, a control over the microservice adoption across the enterprise. They can see, okay, today 30 microservices are there. In 6 months, we have 100 microservices. This is a year-on-year growth of microservices. This is the kind of programming languages used by the microservices, and all of that details they can get very easily. So Microservice Catalog gives you back that sense of control. Whereas you were earlier in a chaos with hundreds and thousands of services, having a microservice catalog gets you back that control over your entire state of the enterprise, and it helps your developers adopt the microservice journey in a much more agile way. So this is a functional representation of how a service catalog works at a very high level. So the service teams who are publishing the services, who you can call as service publisher, they will publish the services onto the enterprise catalog. This can be automatic via a auto search or auto service discovery process. It can be manual. You can upload some metadata and register your service to the microservice catalog. A batch job might be running, which will scan all the services within my organization at a regular interval. So many things can happen. But at the end of the day, my service information needs to be pushed or inputted into the microservice catalog. And on the other hand, the microservice consumers who are consuming my microservices, they will basically use this microservice catalog, which is an enterprise-wide entity, as a single source of truth for all the services in my enterprise. They will go there and try to find which services makes sense to them. So this is kind of a model with service consumers and service publishers acting as a whole cohesive group with the benefit of this microservice catalog. And a microservice catalog will end up acting as a single source of truth. You can build complex analytics on top of the service catalog. You can answer questions like, what is the rate of growth of microservices in my enterprise over the last 6 to 12 months? Some teams can ask questions like, what does the service A do? Who is the owner of the service B? And this catalog acts as an abstraction layer for all the services which are developed within the enterprise. So it acts kind of like an abstraction in front of the microservices, and it gives you that kind of a easy user interface, easy API based way to interact with all the microservices across your enterprise and get valuable metadata about them. What are some of the options? Some of the very well-known options is obviously Ortelius, which is an open source project under Continuous Delivery Foundation. It is a very well-known microservice catalog. You should go and check it out. Also, Deploy Hub is also a very good option, which is an enterprise-grade option that can help you simplify all of the same problems, tackle all of the problems, and much more benefits it can give you, like service dependency and a lot of things, automatic search, discovery, and a lot of things Deploy Hub can give you. So what is the conclusion? So basically, what I am trying to portray here is that there is actually a very real challenge and a very real danger to the scaling of your enterprise if you are not able to have some sort of a strategy behind it. For a few services, it is okay, but the moment you cross that threshold of 30 or 40 services, it becomes very difficult. So you can start small. You can start with an Excel to document your microservices, but over time try to invest in some sort of an enterprise ready tool and include this approach as part of your overall engineering strategy, so that you have all this information ready when you actually want to scale your microservice adoption across the enterprise. If you start with this approach, if you bring this into the core mindset of your engineering strategy, just like API first, just like microservice first, cloud first, this should also be part of your core engineering strategy, and only then you can drive microservice adoption across your entire enterprise, across hundreds of teams in your enterprise. Questions? Please let me know if there are any questions. I will love to answer them, and thank you so much for being a part of this session.